So my name's Briony Marshall and I'm a sculptor. When Tonbridge School were developing their new science centre, which is going to be called the Barton Centre, they were looking for ideas of how to use this, the Nobel laureate from the school, the old pupil from the school's work, to bring a focus to the centre of the science building. And they discovered me and my work, and so we've been working together to develop a really ambitious, large version of the chair isomer to be a focal point in the centre of the atrium of the new Barton Centre. So I created work based on cyclohexane, which is a carbon ring. You can see here it's got 6 carbons, which I've represented with 6 male figures, and then the hydrogens are these white babies. So each carbon has 2 hydrogens, and cyclohexane can exist as 2 isomers. This one is the boat isomer with 2 of the carbons pointing up, and then the chair is with this one tilted down like that, and that's the chair isomer. The chair isomer is the one that we're using as the basis for Barton's chair, the sculpture. An isomer is really just a different shaped molecule, so it's all the same elements, all the same people connected in all the same ways, but just something about the way they're connected, the shape's different. And not all chemicals can have isomers, but some can. So a cyclohexane is one that could have these 2 really distinct isomers, a chair and a boat. And Derek Barton was really the person to come up and investigate this and explain what an isomer was, and that won him a Nobel Prize. I've been working really closely with BDP, the architects, and we've worked on computers, and then we've created a model as well to play around with the scale and the positioning of the work. It's got really interesting angles from all angles, but every now and then there's a moment of reveal where you come round and you can see either the perfect hexagon, or you can really see the chair structure clearly. And so working with the model and trying to work out how we hang and position this sculpture in the space to enable that to happen is quite a challenge, and we're still, obviously I'm going to be relieved when it's finally hung and it all works. So the maquette is a wax, which is a 3rd scale of what the final version will be. When you blow something up, anatomical inaccuracies that don't matter so much when something's small, as they get bigger, they become awkward, and the sculpture loses its beauty and flow. C.P. Snow famously gave a lecture called The 2 Cultures, which is about how art and science are 2 separate cultures that don't understand each other. But actually what surprised me is that my work actually is a bridge for often people from a scientific background to understand art. And there are people who consider themselves very cultured and knowledgeable, but that don't sort of have the ABC of science. Which I think is a shame, because being able to understand the world around us is empowering and gives us opportunities to A, see the beauty in the world, and B, just understand it and see that it's got a simple logic to it. In my practice as an artist, I get to look at science, and I do sort of desk-based research and talk to scientists and try and keep up with new developments and what it means to us as people in society. And so I get to do 2 of the things I love doing, which is, learning about science and doing my art practice as well. In my molecular work, I use human figures to represent atoms, and atoms are the building blocks of chemistry, so the elements that you've heard of, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, each of those is an element, and they form bonds together to make different chemicals, which we call molecules in science. And in the chemistry, they sort of share electrons, which creates these bonds. And in my sculptures, they hold out their arms and legs to each other, and through connecting through their limbs, they connect together. So by connecting these human beings together, I'm representing the ways that atoms come together to make molecules. And it's a metaphor for the way people come together in society to make things that they can't do on their own. Actually, another Tonbridge alumni was E.M. Forster, and one of his calls to action was only connect. His quote was about how the two sides of somebody need to connect, the passion and emotion, or sort of maybe what some people consider more the art side, and then the rational, logical side, which a lot of people think of as the science side. And so this connection between the two in my sculpture, which is it's an artwork, it has aesthetic value, hopefully, but it's also a representation of science. And then there's further layers of meaning for me, which is related to how we do come together in society and we create things that we couldn't create on our own. Science is for everyone. Science is definitely for everyone. Science is just another way of trying to understand the truth of the world. Arts and science have a lot in common. They're researching us as these strange little creatures that have developed amazing abilities to analyse their environment. And some people analyse their environment through the arts, and others analyse them through the science. And really, we're all just trying to understand the truth of why we're here and how the world works.